feeling empathy is one of the most important things in the world. It's necessary for good communication. Doesn't matter what culture you are or how old you are, empathy comes from your heart. So you might wonder, what's the difference between empathy and sympathy? Well, empathy is really feeling the connection with individuals. Sympathy is saying you're sorry or you're concerned. The differences really boil down to 2 points on this slide. One is creating a separation and a disconnection. That's sympathy. But empathy, you're really connecting with others. Here's a couple phrases you could use with sympathy. I know how you feel, or poor you. Whereas in empathy, you say, I can understand how you feel, and it must be hard. I think the cartoon says it all. In those most dire moments, and when we leave this world, it's tough. And we often say to people, oh, we don't know what to say. We say, I'm sorry. But you can show empathy by saying, I understand how you feel. Then you've made the connection. To really show empathy, you need to connect with people. And to do so, you might need to walk a day in someone else's shoes, like this quote from the book Born for Love. Dr. Perry, he has some amazing TED Talks. You should listen to him too. Perhaps when you've traveled to other countries, there have been situations where you have wondered, why do people do things the way they do? I don't understand their language. I don't know what their customs protocols are, so you feel uncomfortable. Consider an expat, someone who lives for a long period of time in another country. It's tough. What we see about people is that 10% of this iceberg above the waterline, that 90% is what they feel. Now, have you ever considered extending empathy to a newcomer in our community? Perhaps they're new immigrants. Now, what if those individuals were refugees? We really don't know what has gone on in the lives of individuals who are refugees. We don't know what kinds of trauma that they have gone through or why they left their home country. Perhaps it was due to war or persecution based on their religious beliefs or their ethnicity. Over 20 years, I worked at 2 different universities. I had the opportunity to work with student refugees through the World University Services of Canada program. These students were absolutely amazing, and I'm so proud of their tenacity and accomplishments once they came here. But consider what they went through, where they came from. Some of them were tortured or seen members of their families mutilated. Perhaps their whole villages burnt down. Others had other tremendous situations that we can't imagine. Being seconded as a child soldier, for example, and then having to trek through the jungles, if they escaped the child soldier camp, to finally get to a refugee camp. But then sometimes there were major challenges at the refugee camps as well. Those individuals that I met shared some really personal stories about being raped, having poor shelter and food, and sometimes being stung by scorpions as they were trying to cook food. But they worked through those challenges. They studied hard, and beyond that, they got accepted to come to study at a university in Canada. That sense of freedom from persecution. Now, how would they think about us when we complain, or things that we go through? Oh, I'm starved. It's a late night. Oh, I worked so hard today. I got nothing to wear. I had to look in the closet to find something to wear tonight. And then we complain about the weather. That's typical Canadian. It's too cold, it's too hot. Is it ever going to stop raining? Or you look around your living room, okay, I'm bored. I've got nothing to do. So I ask you again, what will they think when you say, I'm starved, I'm tired, I have nothing to wear? Or is it ever going to stop raining? Or it's so hot today and I'm so bored? What connection will you make with those other individuals? Can you feel empathy for them? Could they feel empathy for you? You have to reach out, you have to talk and put yourself in someone else's shoes. Through that process, you will have an opportunity to go through the empathic processes. And ultimately, to sum it up, I encourage you and implore you to utilize empathy to embrace cultural diversity. Thank you.